You're listening to the Love Unplugged podcast, episode 153. Do you struggle creating value-rich content on a consistent basis because, well, let's just be honest, you're wearing all the hats in your business and you just don't have enough time? Well, in today's episode, we are diving into content creation strategy and how to organize yourself to produce content that's going to resonate with your community, all without taking up your time. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Hey there, I'm your host, Jessica Fragon, and I am passionate about doing the inner work needed to reach your goals. Let me be your guide as we navigate all the fears and insecurities that surface when it's time to step outside of your comfort zone. Along with my knowledgeable guests and industry experts, I'm here to teach you how to reawaken your life purpose and passion and create the steps to turn your intentions into action. Ultimately, my goal is to empower you to rise above those blocks holding you back and start living a life that you are worthy and deserving of. So come on, it's time to slow down, find a comfy spot with your favorite organic tea, and get inspired. Thank you for tuning in to the Love Unplugged podcast. Hello, loves. Today I am joined by the lovely Kelci Douglas. Kelci is the CEO of She Rose, a marketing and consulting agency that works with lifestyle and leisure companies to boost their brand, amplify their awareness, and increase their revenue through connection-based marketing. Before starting her own company, she created digital and traditional marketing campaigns for a multi-million-dollar casino. Specifically, Kelci headed the grand reopening marketing campaign after a $20 million renovation project that took over 18 months of construction, resulting in record-breaking sales numbers for opening weekend. That is fantastic. Now, Kelci received her Bachelor of Arts in Strategic and Corporate Communication from Chapman University, and she is working towards her Master in Business from Pepperdine University. She has accumulated over 7 years of traditional and digital marketing throughout various roles in industry. Kelci is exceptionally creative and innovative in developing a brand, conceptualizing content, organizing and executing creative direction, designing launch plans, and orchestrating high-touch luxury brand experiences. So I am very much honored to have you, Kelci. I absolutely love your brand and your business. So thank you so much for joining me and for being a guest. But before we dive into everything that we're going to talk about today, I would love for you to share a little bit more about you on a personal side for those that don't know you yet.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I am thrilled to be here. I am Kelci Douglas, actually Kelci Borges. I am recently married and we celebrated that on September 30th. So I'm still getting used to calling myself a different last name and calling my fiance my husband. We live in Boise, Idaho with our 2 little doggies. And I moved here back in 2020 in the pandemic, but I'm actually from the Pacific Northwest in the San Juan Islands, which is in Washington State.
Oh, that's pretty close to where I am.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, Vancouver, BC. So just across the border, basically.
Oh, right across the border. That's amazing.
That's awesome. Congratulations on your wedding. That is so exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, it was, we eloped. So it was like very last minute and we got married in my parents' backyard, which was beautiful because they live in San Juan Islands.
That's beautiful. I'm definitely up for it for elopements, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't know what to think about it, but then now that I did it, I can't imagine doing it any differently.
Yeah, there's something so intimate and beautiful about it. I mean, not to give away from the big weddings, which are absolutely phenomenal as well, but I mean, it depends on who you are.
Yep, totally.
I would get so nervous walking down the aisle with so many people watching me.
Right? Yeah. I thought I was a big wedding gal, but we were just like, let's just do it. Why not?
No, I totally get that. I was a wedding planner a long time ago, many years ago. And I always thought I wanted to have that big wedding. And even just now, just thinking, because like as you think about your own wedding, you kind of go through all of the different things that are going to happen throughout the day. And I'm like, There's no way I'm walking down that aisle with people watching me. There's no way I'm saying vows or even speaking in a
That's so
microphone so
funny.
that everybody can hear me. Like, that's not happening.
Yeah, we did our vows private because I feel the same way. I'm like, nah, I have a hard time expressing my feelings in front of you just regularly. So, probably not going to profess my deepest love to all of my closest family.
I'm the same way. I totally get that. All right, so let's dive into business. Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. Prior to you having your business, what were you doing?
Oh, great question. So I was working in marketing at a casino, and I was the digital marketing coordinator. However, I was doing a lot more than being a digital marketing coordinator. That's what I was hired to do, but then I ended up being the project manager of marketing for the casino renovation project that we were going through. And so that was like an 18-month long project that I was constantly working on marketing in addition to all the other regular duties that I had, like email lists or email newsletters, paid advertising. Um, so it was really fun. I loved it. And after a good success with that, I had asked for a raise because I had proven myself. I had been there for like a year at that point and seen like some really amazing results from the things that I was doing. And they had told me no. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll keep my head down. Um, Actually, they didn't even tell me no. They just didn't respond. Like they said
What?
nothing. Yeah. So that was interesting. And so I was like, okay, I'll just keep my head down. I'll keep doing the work. And then again, after like another thing where I proved myself, proved my worth, I asked again. And that point, I was like really just getting tired of feeling underappreciated. And I was on the brink of starting my own company. And I kept following up. Again, the same thing happened. They like told me no, essentially, because they didn't answer. And so I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to start putting the pieces together to start my own business. I am not passionate about fueling other people's addictions, whether it be alcoholism, whether it be gambling, whether it be coming to the casino and doing drugs. Like, that's not me, anyways. So I'm like super health and wellness passionate about that. I love food, beverage, all those things. And so I'm like, I could help businesses that like have a purpose and like the person behind the business, this is their life. And so that's ultimately what led me to start my company.
Did you go to school for marketing? Like, was that your interest, going into college or university after high school? Is that like what was you were planning the entire time?
Yeah, I have been interested in marketing for a really long time. Going back to like literally elementary school, I hacked my way onto MySpace and I would spend hours custom coding my profile because it was basically like a website. Like you could customize it so much. And I was using like HTML coding to customize my MySpace page back when I was in like sixth grade. And then ever since then, I've always been on all of the social media platforms and just kind of investigating them. And I knew I wanted to start my own business. I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know what I wanted that to be. I thought I was going to be a hairstylist because I would get to be creative with other people's hair. So then I realized in college after I was in marketing, and then I had transferred schools so many times that I wasn't able to get into the business school at Chapman, and so they suggested this strategic and corporate communication, which was a hybrid between a communication major and a business major, and they had developed the curriculum with professors that were at the school. And so I was like, okay, well, that's kind of my only option. So I did that and it was honestly the best decision for me because I learned so much more about like communicating brands, marketing, all of that than I would have if I was in a business course, because business is so much more like numbers driven, if you know what I mean. So I actually got to be creative within the communications school at Chapman, which was amazing.
That's awesome. That sounds like the perfect course. Like, even though your initial plan didn't really pan out,
Yeah,
the universe listened again.
exactly.
Oh, that's amazing. Back to your story about them not responding to your requests for,
Mhm.
increase or recognition and whatnot. Like, I feel like that is such a drive for a lot of people to kind of open their eyes and be like, this isn't right. This isn't, like, I shouldn't have to wait for somebody else to give the approval on, like, the path that I'm going. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I got that in corporate as well. And it was pretty funny where I was working my ass off for promotion that I wanted to eventually get to this one place. And I got to the place right before the point that I wanted to be. And I was like, I basically had to say, what else do I have to do in order to get that? Because that's what I want and that's what I've been working towards. And I honestly don't know anything else that I could possibly do to get that. And it just didn't make any sense that they weren't giving it to me. And they finally had to just cave and give it to me. But like, just the runaround in corporate settings is just so frustrating at times. And even the salary caps can be so frustrating.
Yeah,
Like, it just doesn't make sense.
it makes absolute no sense at all. Like, I feel like they were making up these rules as they were going because they told me that like I wasn't asking for like a title change or anything. I just wanted to make more money. And they were like, "Well, you need to be promoted in order to make more money." And I'm like, "Okay, okay. I've never heard that before. I'm not sure why you're just like making stuff up like that." Um and the thing was is like their organization chart, they didn't have that where they could say like, here is your career trajectory. Like if you stay here, here's what we see for you. You know, that was not part of the process. So like I didn't know what my promotion would be because there was no clear path of career growth, and all the people in my department were young as well. And so I'm like, okay, well, where's everyone going? You know, like there's no growth for any of us in this role. So that's why I ended up leaving, because and I feel like that's a lot of the thing people in entrepreneurship, they're just like so they get so burnt out in the corporate culture that they're tired of putting up with it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, let's just be honest, there's some people that are okay just going in, doing the 9 to 5, and then going home and having that separate life type thing. And that's totally fine. We need that. Like, that's
Yeah.
absolutely needed. But for those that, want more and to be in more control of their destiny type thing when it comes to their career, like that kind of a moment in corporate is definitely like an eye opener to being like, I think I need to look elsewhere at different types of options.
Yeah, exactly. And I just always knew that I wanted my own company, so I that's why I ended up taking the plunge, is because I knew that I didn't want to work for somebody else. I just don't have the personality type to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing that you knew yourself so well and you already had that idea in the back of your head that this was now like the time to go.
Yeah,
This is time
for sure.
to do your business. So, what was your experience starting and growing that business?
Oh my goodness. So I started putting together all of the pieces in like June, July of 2018. Um, and at the time I was working on some projects within my job that literally just flowed into them asking me if I could do that on the side for them, because they were partners of we were like in a partnership with the companies. We were like creating video content. And then I went to a conference where it was a casino conference, and the person who's running the conference was like, I'm looking for somebody to help me with my marketing and my digital marketing. And I was like, no freaking way. Like, how is this all just coming into fruition at the time that I'm like needing it the most? And so that was those two things where the one person asked me if I would do this on the side for them, and the other person, they were in July and August. And so by September, I was like, okay, I think I'm going to be able to like quit my job here pretty soon. And I ended up being able to put in my 2 weeks notice, and my last day was on October 16th of 2018. So within 3 months of like starting my company, I was able to leave. And it was really challenging because I would be literally working on my company at every waking moment outside of when I had to go to my 9 to 5. So I had no life outside of building the business in the wee hours of the morning, late into the night. And when I stopped working my 9 to 5 and went full time in my business, it was like crazy because I had so much time on my hands. Like these two clients that I got replaced my corporate salary. And so I almost didn't know what to do because I was doing social media management for them. And so the turnaround, like I would create 30 days of content and that would be done in like a week, maybe 2 weeks. And then the rest of the month, I'd be like, okay, now what do I do? um, so it was just a really interesting period of time in like the growth stages of my business, just trying to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing, like as a business owner, how do I go and generate more leads? How do I generate business? Posting on social media. And I feel like 2018, 2019 were the days where like people started realizing that they could have online businesses and like operate completely online and not have to, you know, be confined within the location that they're at. So it was interesting to see all of the people who started entering the online space as I was kind of trying to create my own, um, and see them grow too, like right alongside me. It was really interesting and super cool to be a part of that.
That's amazing. So, I mean, 3 months to quit your job from the time you kind of started your business and got a couple clients. That's not a long time. So I'd love to hear from you. Like, how or did you even set yourself up to have like some kind of a plan B or like a cushion or something like that, just in case things kind of slow down or there was a lull? Like, how did you set yourself up to be able to take that leap?
Oh, yeah. Good question. Um, well, I had, I want to say, I was so scared to put people into contracts back then. And I still get like the heebie jeebies about it, because I don't know, something about it. But I had at least 3 month out contracts with these people. And I I don't know, I just went for it because I was so tired. So I would like be crying almost every day just because I was so frustrated with how things were going at my job, and I was like, this is not okay. I'm done with this and I needed to get out of it. It was such a toxic environment that I didn't care, and I was just literally going to do whatever it took in order to make my business successful. And in addition to that, I have been a barista. And so I worked as a barista to supplement and just make sure that if anything were to happen that was like out of my control and bad, I at least had that. So I would work as a barista in the mornings a couple days a week, and then I would, I was off by like noon. So it was, I still had practically the entire day to continue to work. Um and people wouldn't, you wouldn't know the difference. And
Mhm.
It's not like my clients were ringing me at all hours of the day or needing me because I was working in like monthly cadences. So there were only certain times of the month that they would really be communicating with me. So that was my cushion. And it was also kind of a downfall to my business. It like held me back. It was my comfort, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
So would you have not done that? Like looking back, and how would you have handled it now looking back with like all the experience and everything that you have today?
No, I don't think that I would change that because it did provide that sense of stability and it like made things make sense for me to do and like dive headfirst and also be able to experiment without being afraid of messing up because I had that to fall back on. Um, but what I would say to that is I used it and I didn't set up strict enough boundaries, I guess, around my schedule. And so I was constantly being asked to fill in. I had told them, I can only work in the mornings. And then I ended up like working in the afternoons. And it just started to not work for me. It started to kind of work against me because it was I would be tired from waking up at like 4:30 in the morning, going to work, and then I didn't really have that motivation to carry through in the afternoon. Um and so I realized that and I was like I just need to kind of sever the tie here so that I can put 100% focus into my business. Like I had gained a few more clients by that point and I felt confident in letting go and just focusing 100% on building the business.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's talk about your experience at the beginning of your business versus now as an agency owner. So at the beginning, you were obviously, running it alone. You're a solopreneur and
Mhm.
you're managing clients, and now you have a team and you're an agency. So what is the difference for those that are thinking of possibly starting an agency and they're currently just running it alone? What can they expect going into that?
Oh my goodness. A loaded question for sure. Well, in the early stages of my business, I was having to do all of the things by myself. Like, I was the content creator, I was the graphic designer, I was the client communication and account manager. I had to figure out like how to invoice people correctly and all the systems and things for my business. And then I also had to market my own business. Like, there's so many things that you have to do. And it's a lot. Like it's really overwhelming. And I would constantly like wonder, okay, like when is this going to end? Like I feel like I'm on a hamster wheel because it would be a monthly thing, I would have to repeat the same thing every single month. Um and so that's when I kind of realized I want to be the creative. I love the creative process. I love being able to provide the strategy. I love being able to help with that, but I need people to do the things that pull it all together. And so I have, since I started in 2018 and to now, I have a team of 3 and they're employees of Sheroes. I have in the past hired contractors, and most of them have worked out really well for my business, but some of them haven't, and that taught me a lot about what I'm looking for in a team member and in somebody who's going to work for my business. And so I wouldn't take any of that experience back because it was really a good learning lesson for me. And now I have a team who does the video, does the editing, does the content creation in terms of the graphics and writing the copy and coming up with the strategy and coming up with what we're going to post for our clients in order to help them achieve their goals. I have somebody pulling reports at the end of the month. And so, really, what I get to do is step into that visionary role within my company and um, provide support for my team too and help them achieve what they want to do within their role here within at Sheroes. And so it's very different from what I was doing, and they both have their own challenges, right? So there's a lot of challenges in managing a team, a lot of challenges. um, and it's more so like they're great. I love my team. They're so fantastic. It brings up a lot of challenges just within growing as a leader and just with conversations within like, oh my gosh, I need to give better instructions and provide more detail so that they can do their job. Yeah, it's just a whole different animal.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always like, one of the things that has always come up is, adapting to the change of the fact that you're no longer having to do it all and you need to let go of
Mm-hmm.
things. And then also keep in mind that when things come in, just because you're available doesn't mean you need to act on it if it's not part of your responsibilities right away, because you've gotten so used to it as a solopreneur. As soon as something comes in, you action it type thing. But if it's somebody else's responsibility, you need to like let that go and let them handle it.
Yeah, yep. It's hard to do because I'm like, okay, well, I can do this faster, or oh, I don't know if they're going to know how to do this, or oh, I don't know if they have enough time. Like what if they're over like they're overworked or they have too much on their plate this week. So there's a lot of like things that go into deciding whether you can delegate it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes I always try to find like it's up to them to bring that to my attention if they can't handle it. Like I need to like let it go and know that they're handling it, they're owning it, and if they need my support, they will bring it to my attention, and that's when I will jump in.
Yeah, that's great advice. That's so true.
And it's so hard changing those habits of being used to being alone versus having a team, and then the whole managing aspect is like a whole different area of the business and skill set that you need to develop.
Yeah, it really is. I've been in charge of like an intern before at my previous job where I was training them, but outside of that, I haven't been in like a managerial role. So I'm just learning as the days go on.
Yeah, it's a great role though. I
Yeah.
enjoy it. Well, like once you get into the swing of things, it's wonderful to be able to support them in their own growth and to see what they accomplish and stuff and to cheer them on. And just from that perspective, it's awesome.
Yeah, I do love that. That's probably the best part of it is getting to support them and, what they want to achieve.
Hmm. Now, what have been your biggest lessons and wins as an entrepreneur looking back? Like, what were moments where, maybe things didn't go so well and they were pivotal in a growth opportunity, or maybe some wins where you're like, holy crap, that was like on my dream board. I can't believe I accomplished this. And then how did you celebrate it?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so going back to learning lessons first, when I first started my business, I would work with anybody because I needed people to pay me. And, the luxury of getting to pick and choose who I worked with wasn't really an option at that point. And maybe it was. And I mean, I don't know how other people operate by doing this, but for me, I was willing to take all of the experience that I could get. That way, also, I was able to refine who I wanted to work with. So I worked with a lot of kind of horrible people when I first started my business that would take advantage of me, that would, they would just request some crazy things. And I remember one time, like, I got the gut feeling where I'm like, oh gosh, I really don't want to work with this person, but I kind of want to get in at this company. And so I did it, and it ended up resulting in like this guy yelling at me, like a guy a man yelling at me and telling me that what I was trying to do was like him. He was the general manager in it. And he said that me trying to help them with their branding was like him trying to be an accountant because I was a marketer. And I'm like, well, branding is an aspect of marketing, you freaking idiot. Um, so it was like really terrible. He was yelling at me. He took me to a place where like like in his where he worked, like all of the rooms were had video and like were recording, but he took me somewhere where they didn't have that. And so that the like conversation couldn't be recorded pretty much. So it was just a really sketchy situation. And I knew that I didn't want to take on that client, but I wanted the in, I guess. So I went against my will. And that was definitely a huge learning lesson because it did not end well. And then from there, I mean, those lessons happen, things like that, not that exact situation, but just gut feelings and lessons learned. You're like, okay, I knew I shouldn't have done that. And it kind of reaffirms you to trust your intuition and trust your gut feeling for sure. Um, some of my biggest wins have been I rebranded my company in 2021 to She Rose, and I was just Douglas Marketing Agency. That's my last name, or was my last name. Um, and the rebrand went so well. It was just people cheered me on, and it was such a great feeling because I was so nervous to let go of my past identity as Douglas Marketing Agency because that was my business baby, like I started it, I brought it up, it was successful. But the name She Rose had been on my heart for over a year. And I was like, I need to just go for this. Like, it's not going to leave if I don't do it. Like, it's going to stay there. And so that being so well received, and from that rebrand, I've been able to double my agency as a result from what I was before because I feel like people really resonate with our mission and our purpose and what we stand for.
Wow. Well, congratulations. How did you celebrate that launch?
Great question. Let's see. I went out to dinner with my then boyfriend, and I guess I celebrated it by then. I did that by myself, or well, with support people, but I did that as a solopreneur. And shortly after that, I was able to hire my first employee.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And I love that you did take time to celebrate it because often I hear, oh, I don't know what I did.
Yeah.
It's often what happens. But let's dive into your expertise a little bit here now. With building a community and our business, whether it's service-based or product-based online, it is exciting, but how do we get that community to be as excited as we are in it? You know what I mean? Like, how do we get them to be engaged and communicating and, cheering us on or like being really part of that community?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the most important thing is making sure that you are doing it. I mean, we're doing this for us, right? But at the end of the day, you have to involve your community. You have to connect with your community. Your purpose has to resonate with what they are looking for and what they desire. And so, what you do kind of needs to revolve around your dream client or your dream audience member. And it should connect with them. And that's what I go back to with our marketing. And what we do is we use connection-based marketing strategies in order to really curate an engaged audience that wants to be there.
I love that. Yeah. Okay. with the different forms to engage with them. You know, videos are a huge thing right now. Reels are like the top of the list. Everybody is saying you need to be pushing short form video and making reels and like posting them 4 or 5 times a week. So how can we use that new feature to make sales, to engage with our communities, to create a bigger impact?
Yeah. I love reels. I think they're so fun because you're able to like give your audience a better peek into your personality. You can't really do that as much with just static images. And they with just even stories, for example, like you're talking to your audience, you're kind of giving them a glimpse inside your daily life and things like that. And so using reels and short form video has been so beneficial for myself, for our clients. It's a super powerful tool. And not only for you to utilize the trending audio and like put your own personal spin on it, but you can use it in a really powerful way to showcase your products or services. And you can use it to show, let's say you're a product based business and you sell whatever, you sell health and wellness, something or other. You can show not only the people who create that product, you can show that product in use, and you can show like the benefits and the outcome and the transformation of whatever that product is. You can show it in action. And that is the beauty of video, is you can really showcase what your product or service does. Just yesterday, my team was creating behind the scenes reels for our content creation days. We have five different tracks where we either are doing like brand elevation, launch planning, batch recording video content, the list goes on, right? So we were like, okay, how can we showcase these different things so people really understand, what it is that we're doing in all of these content creation days? So we basically just did the content creation day and like ran through the content creation day as if we were doing it with our clients, because we needed to create the content. And we showed people like, what would it be like to work with you? What can you expect? And that allows you to kind of overcome anybody's objection before they even get to working with you, because they already know what to expect. They know what the deliverables will be because you walk them through that within your video in a fun and engaging way.
What do you suggest in capturing people within that first 5 seconds? Like, I know when I'm looking at reels and stuff like that, I'm scrolling pretty darn quick. I don't even see the caption. Something has to appeal to me in the actual video that will make me stay and watch. And then if I'm done the video or going through it and I like it, then I'll read the caption. So what are some things that you found will capture that person to keep them watching that video?
Oh my gosh, this is a challenging question, because I feel like we are constantly learning what works best, because it's such a new feature still. So it depends on the type of video, because you could be face to camera and doing more of an educational type video. And in that style of a video, you need to really talk to the person's pain points. You need to speak to maybe like the bulk of the content. So, for example, I posted a reel about meeting strangers, and this was at Hannah's retreat uh, in September. And I was like, did your parents ever tell you not to meet strangers on the internet? Because that was the premise of the entire reel, because it's crazy to me that like a few years ago, my parents were like, be careful on the internet. And so then that just became the headline of the reel, because that's what it was all about. So I think if you think through what the purpose of the reel is and like what you're trying to accomplish, it will help extract the best hook for the first 5 seconds. And whether it's you speaking the hook or whether it's just the text on the screen in order to get them in, especially for the educational videos, that's really helpful. It's harder to do that if it's a trending sound and that you're just kind of recreating something that's already been created. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely going to use that and apply it in my content creation strategy. So thank you for that.
Yeah, of course.
Now, you've talked about content planning days. You mentioned previously, like when you first started out, you would spend about 2 weeks creating content for clients and whatnot. So I'd love to kind of dive into that because, I mean, as you know, it does take a lot of time. And if you're in your business by yourself, you're juggling absolutely everything. And when client work comes up, obviously your business gets put to the side. And the content piece is just such a big piece of that because it does take time to create. So, what would you suggest, when things are really busy, what can we do to structure that content creation session in order to make the most use of our time?
Yeah, that is a wonderful question. And it depends. The content creation totally depends on your bandwidth as a business owner and like how far in advance you want to be planning. If you know that, you can kind of work backwards to figure out, okay, how far do I need to be planning ahead based on how many times per month I'm going to be creating content? And then you can kind of structure it that way. I will give a rundown based on what we do. And so for She Rose, we have a lot of different content outlets. We're creating a podcast, we have a blog, social media. Um, and so we have basically weeks that are structured to create content for specific platforms. So, for the first week of every month, we're focusing on the podcast and we're focusing on the blogs. So, we will be batch creating all of the podcasts that are solo episodes. And then my team will help. Turn those podcast episodes into blogs, and we'll get all of those scheduled and ready to go for that next month. So right now we are planning for December. And you're obviously hearing this and it's not December, but we're planning a month out. And that's what we do for our clients as well. So I'm going to just give a sample for a small business owner for your audience that I think might be beneficial. So I would recommend sitting down. Right now it's the first week of the month. So in the first week of the month, sit down and figure out what your goals are for the next month. What do you want to be pushing as far as your service, your product? What are any like sales or anything that's going on in your life, your business that you want to touch on? Figure out and plot those things down on paper. Then in that like outlining process, you can also start to scroll through reels and see if there's any fun reels that you're like, oh, I definitely want to put that on the docket to record for next month. That is something super fun. A pro tip would be to go scroll on TikTok because TikTok is ahead of the curve, and things that are trending on TikTok will likely be trending on Instagram Reels a couple weeks later. So, since you're planning so far ahead, it is a good idea to go to TikTok for inspiration because you'll be trending on Instagram at the same time that, the trends are like coming over to Instagram, if that makes sense. So then after you have like your outline of, okay, I have the content topics that I'm going to talk about, I have the reels outlines that I want to do, your second week of the month can be devoted to writing the content. So, writing whatever it is that you're going to post with either a photo or a reel. And I would recommend like identifying which posts are going to go with a reel or carousel or a photo. Having all of that information allows you to batch and allows you to get through, the period of time that you're working on. The third week of the month can be devoted to graphic creation and to reels creation. So if you just set aside a couple of hours to batch record all of the reels, to create the cover photos, to edit the reels, all of that goes really good together. And then the final week of the month can be just for refining and for making any last minute tweaks. And then you can schedule that content out. It can also be used to like add hashtags to the post, anything like that.
Gotcha. Okay. I like that approach of like batching each part of the process throughout the month.
Yeah, because there's so many different components when it comes to social media, and in order for it to be like as organized and as structured as possible and not to get distracted, the batching process is a complete game changer.
I love that. And I assume that the podcast is your anchor piece where you are then repurposing content into the different platforms that you're on from there, correct?
Funnily enough, no.
Oh, okay.
um, the podcast is kind of just we have an Instagram for the podcast, so we will repurpose the content there. We drive people on a weekly basis from our main account to the podcast as well, but it has not acted as our anchor for the past year. And it's definitely been a tiresome act creating brand new content for like literally a million different places, it feels like. So moving into 2023, we're definitely going to be assessing how we plan things out in that way so that we can streamline things and make sure that we're not over creating.
Makes sense. I love that. Yeah. I've definitely been there and I still am at times as well, where I'm like, I feel like I need to be creating new everywhere. And I'm like, wait. Like, no.
Yep.
Let's try to make this a little bit easier.
Yeah. Simplify as much as possible.
Yeah. Business is complex enough. Simplify where you can.
Yeah, exactly.
So, when you are sharing your value, your expertise, building your authority, sharing your thought leadership online, what are some ways that we can do that are the most effective?
Oh, it can feel so cringy to brag about yourself, right? Yeah. So I am doing my best to step into that role just within, She Rose and like trying to share my expertise from a way that doesn't feel cringy. My favorite way is to do it in a fun reel. That way, it's like, okay, I'm, owning who I am, what I can do, and it's kind of a fun spin on it and it doesn't feel as cringy. So for anybody who's like, "Ugh, I hate like bragging about myself," that's a great way. Another thing that I like to do is share my expertise just by providing tips and value to show people that I know what I'm talking about, especially if they were to take that tip, for instance, and implement it into their own business, they would get a good peek into the results that I can help them achieve. Um, Another thing that you can do is just sharing your social proof and client testimonials is that really goes a long way because if people are enjoying what you're doing for them, then people feel more trustworthy of your services and the value that you can provide. Any type of polarizing opinions that you have on things that are happening in your industry, it can be a really great thing to provide your insight and your take on what's going on so that people can be like, okay, I resonate with that, or maybe I don't really resonate with that. And that's okay. That you're going to drive some people away by sharing your opinion. And that's doing you a service because you don't want to attract those people into your business in the first place.
I feel like that's the one that a lot of people, including myself, struggle with the most is putting yourself out there and saying something that might be contradicted by other people, or people might have a different opinion on it, or, like the feeling of being wrong or not following the pack. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's such a challenging one, but I think we make it out to be a little bit bigger than it needs to be.
Yeah. It it is scary. Like, I completely understand. It definitely is scary, but I think that that is literally what sets you apart, right? And so people who make these claims or opinions rather, and they stand in their truth, people want to stand with you. Like, if you look at brands and companies that are really making a big impact, or growing quickly, rather, uh, you can kind of tie in, okay, like these people are literally like making a stand, making an impact, and like sharing what they think. And that goes a long way because people want to stand in solidarity with you, whatever your opinion is. And it doesn't even have to be like a big issue that's happening in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Okay, so let's dive into what you have available to support your community. So, what are your offerings? How can people work with you?
Okay, well, I would love to see you guys over on our Instagram at We Are Sheroes. We have two different branches of our business where you can gain our support, and that could either be working with us as your digital marketing agency, where we can provide social media management, email marketing, video marketing. Or you can work with us on the consulting branch of our business, where you would be partnering with me specifically as your fractional chief marketing officer. And I would be meeting with you to help guide and oversee all of the marketing efforts that you're doing. Um, of course, you could add on done for you services within that branch of our business as well. But that's how we separated it out, done for you or done with you. And then in addition to that, we are launching in-person experiences next year. Super excited to be more of a voice in the Boise community and provide space for female entrepreneurs to gather through our in-person networking events. And we're going to be calling them the Breakfast Club. So we'll be meeting over breakfast and having a speaker come. That's going to be amazing. We also have retreats, in-person retreats. We're doing them once a year, annual retreats to plan out your business and also plan out your marketing in the environment where you get to brainstorm and mastermind with other business owners who are just like you. So that is our full suite. We do a lot.
You do. I love that you are doing the in person experiences because, COVID fatigue, or
Yeah.
not COVID fatigue, Zoom fatigue. I think we were kind of done with it, and we need to get back to seeing each other in person.
Yeah, it is so powerful. I'm really excited.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So thank you so much, Kelci, for sharing your incredible marketing experience and your experience starting and growing your own business. I know that so many people are going to have takeaways like I do, and we'll be able to apply them in our business so that we can see and experience the results ourselves based on everything that you've shared today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
I'm Jessica, and thanks for tuning in today to Love Unplugged, the podcast. If there are any questions or topics you'd love answered on the show, head on over to www.projectloveco.com and share your request with me. If you haven't yet, go to iTunes and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast and share it with a loved one. Your feedback means the world to me, and the community we've created is what fuels our discussions here. After all, this is all for you. Join me next time for another unplugged conversation.